As an early ship, one, I think the design looks great, although it's a little translucent right there. But I do think here at early levels, you will be able to have a little bit of an impact. But if you pick this up at, 46, 49, 52, whatever, it's going to basically be a 5-minute ship for right now because it's really going to be tied to its own individual loop. I think it looks beautiful.
Fancy intro music, yeah! Woo!
Hey everybody, and so thanks to the community having faith in the heart, we have the NX01 Enterprise here in the game today. Now, good news is it has a free-to-play path to begin with immediately, and even though we're doing this video a week after it came out, I still think that's something worth saying as a positive. Anytime that they have a free-to-play path immediately, I'm going to say that's a good thing. To get your NX01 blueprints, head over to the Xborg faction store right here, starting in 40 plus, so that you can start redeeming it up to 2 a day. It will cost you 250 uncommon Xborg credits. Now you can do it 1 a day, that'd take you 200 days. At 2 a day, obviously 100 days. A little over 3 months of an acquisition time. That doesn't count any event stores that might come around that possess the NX01 blueprint. So having this is an immediate bonus because we still have ships in the game today that Scopely has not added a free-to-play path or easy acquisition to, like the Meridian and the Borg Cube. We're not counting event stores. We're talking about just general acquisition. So that is a positive of the NX01. Now let's talk about, does the NX01 have value? Number one, let's talk about upgrading the NX01 and what that's going to cost. Another positive about the NX01, in my personal opinion, is that it does not cost uncommons. It doesn't cost ship parts to upgrade. To me, these are positives. It actually has unique currencies. With this one right here, this is going to be your ceramic composites, and then you have Xborg credits, the varying degrees of those. You have commons, uncommons, rares, and epics. Now on the screen, you can see the total cost of upgrading the ship, and I'm not going to pretend like it's going to be just an easy path through. You're obviously going to have a little bit of a bottleneck here with the specialty, currency that you get through the refinery to upgrade the ship. That said, it's not going to be something like the Borg Cube, for example, which literally you have to decide between, should I upgrade my ops building or should I spend all those uncommon ore on the Borg Cube? So a positive to the NX01 is that as a specialty ship, it is not going to cost you materials that interact with your everyday gameplay. So that means that you can upgrade it without worrying whether you're taking away from research or a faction ship or even your buildings and everything else. I think that is a bonus to this type of design. So a shout out to that. In terms of repair costs, also not wicked high, which is in my opinion, good thing. Now, there are drawbacks here. So I'm talking about some of the positives of the NX01. Let's go ahead and be honest about some of the negatives. Number one negative, it's another Franklin. It is literally limited to its loop. It will not be a super effective ship, though it can be effective-ish, depending on what tier and level you have, because it has one thing where they decided that it's going to be canonical. So don't let this confuse you. The total strength here of 26 million makes it seem like it's a pretty strong ship. Now, granted, this is at a level 49 account, but just to compare, here's my Talios, a tier 8 ship, 29 million. Here is my Borg Cube, tier 7, 27 million. Meridian, we'll skip those. Pylum, 55, pretty high core NAR, but my Valdor, 26 at tier 5. Tier 1, you go, wow, it's actually quite strong. Don't be deceived. It's actually very, very weak. Let me explain why. So in terms of game mechanics, understanding what works in this game is understanding how things happen and why they happen. Logical. So to have a successful battle, we know that shields can be important. Well, the one area they decided to make the NX01 very lore friendly is that it doesn't really have shields. Here's an example. So I had JTK, who is from Epic. Shout out to Epic for helping with this video. Here is the NX01 running what everybody recognizes as the PvP meta at the time of this video. This is the OP PvP crew, the you're guaranteed to win. Except I wasn't, and I did it against a lower tier ship. Now everybody's gonna say, hey, that's a level 54 player. And that's true. That's why I had them bring out a G3 ship using a G3 PvP crew. Older players will recognize 5Con and Marcus as an older PvP crew. Not even running the meta. and I still lost. And this crew's basically undefeatable. Like, you don't lose with this crew. Now, why did I lose? Well, the battle log actually makes it very easy to understand. So if you scroll down, literally with the first shot, the D4 gets rid of the NX01 shields, because at tier 1, it has like 140,000 shields. And even at higher tiers, take a look at this screenshot with this higher level player. Look at the amount of shields the NX01 has. Very, very low. So even running the PvP meta crew, what ends up happening is without shields, look how much damage you're taking. Now, granted, mitigation can help with that. Again, one thing that's very lore friendly about this ship is that it doesn't have shields and it's not super strong. It relies on its ability to take advantage against the aquatic Xindi, and it's very limited into that scope. Now, there are some things that will make the NX01 stronger, like favors and research, and it can have applications outside, but you're really going to have to force it to work well. This isn't to say that it's a bad ship, but it is to say that by design, it is meant to work against the Xindi Aquatics. And while you can use it outside, including against the regular Xindi, do note that you're going to have to be very picky about the crews that you choose for this ship. Not saying it's bad, just saying you have to understand the limitations. There are pros and cons to the NX01. Speaking of the Xindi hostiles, let's talk about the Xindi hostiles and the aquatics. Now, it takes a token to get here. We'll talk about the refinery in a second, but I'll use this as an opportunity to show you how the NX01 ability works while we talk about the hostiles. So the NX01 does have a unique ship ability that, I'll be honest, does not really excite me, but you can use it about 4 times a day, and it lets you reveal a hidden system, including these. So now I can look inside and see the aquatic Xindi hostiles. It's a great opportunity to take advantage and talk about them. So the Xindi cruisers, these are the ones that you make sure that you hit at least a few of these before you take a shot at the battleship. These are the easier ones to attack, but they are still quite hard. In fact, having a conversation with game design, they acknowledge that maybe the interceptors are still a little bit too hard than they should be. This is going to be the main thing that you fight. Now, in terms of crewing, Pipe Moreau Chim and Pipe Moreau Talon are going to be, static. You use those a lot. Pipe Moreau Chim being, believe it or not, a little bit better against the interceptors due to the firing pattern that they have. And then you have these, the big battleships. This is actually where you want to run Cath because of the kinetics, or to run a loot crew. Now, we'll talk about the different crews in a second, but I do want to point something out about this hostile. This hostile will send you home. It has a go home gun, as you can see on the screen, with its firing pattern, and more importantly, with its ability, a 30% chance for that weapon number 5 to send you directly home. And it did it to me a lot. In fact, it's very Scopely math. When I say it's very Scopely math, I went after it with good crews. It wasn't that I was dying for bad crews or bad ship or bad research. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times in a row. Keep in mind, you get 1 token per day unless you have the NX01 refit. 1 token. 7 times in a row, I died to the go home gun. If you're curious what the go home gun looks like, don't worry, I'll show you. Here's me running the loot crew. So I was running Picard, the Enterprise E, Data, the Enterprise E for synergy, and of course his below deck or his officer ability, which is really good. 5 of 11, I'm trying to get loot. Well, that 5th weapon went kabooey. Ouch, hurts, pain. I felt lots of pain and I died. So understand there's risk for going after those. But at the same time, when it comes to refinery, you're going to probably want to strategize by doing what a lot of people do and what I did, which is attacking a couple, 2, 3, 4 of the interceptors, and then going after a cruiser, seeing if you can beat it as your last shot. Keep in mind, you might want to just avoid them altogether. There are pros to going after them. What are the pros? Payouts. The payout of hitting a cruiser and winning, the enhanced cruiser, is it pays out 10 times the amount of loot of an interceptor. The battleships pay out significantly more. So if you kill 1 battleship, you basically killed 10 interceptors. So that's the payoff. You get a lot more loot, and you're generally not going to kill 10 interceptors versus 1 battleship. So like the ratio is, this thing is not 10 times stronger than an interceptor. It's only a little bit, maybe twice as strong as an interceptor as it scales up. So you get a lot more stuff, but there is inherently much more risk. Maybe about 3 times stronger, but it's not 10 times stronger. So like you couldn't replace it by hitting 10 interceptors because you're not going to be able to beat the 10 interceptors at a low tier. Even as you tier up, if you're going into the higher level versions of the hostile, you're going to run into a similar problem. But let's bring up the refinery real quick, because I will say we've gone over some negatives, but there are a lot of positives to the NX01 refinery. Number one, you can actually start working on the refit day one, which I think is a very, very good thing. I actually have already pulled my 3 shards. It's going to take you 40 days if you're max pulling the Picard refit to get that unlocked. You also have these multiple trade-ins, like the scrap trade and the Xindi Aquatic exchange. We'll talk about those in just a second, because real quick, I want to talk about the opportunity chest and the special opportunity chest. The special opportunity chest, you get this token every time you get 10 tokens every time you kill a battleship. And then you can turn those in as a risk or safe turn in, which is going to give you Exborg, rares, and epics, even starting at tier 1. So you can go risky, which gives you a 68% chance of hitting this middle one, a 30% chance of getting the lowest amount, or you can win the jackpot, a very low 2% chance, 5% chance, and you can get the big numbers. Or you can play it safe and go for this, which is still not a bad payout. Now, if you go back to the safe opportunity chest, the regular opportunity chest, you get this by doing your aquatic turn-in in the refinery. And this one, again, you can play it safe. This is guaranteed, or you can roll the dice and risk it, and you have a chance of getting the jackpot here. Now, the jackpot on this one is 2%, so far less likely, 2%, or the middle option, which is the biggest chance at these areas here, which you'll notice comparatively is not too far off from what you were already going to get. So not really a big complaint there from me. I actually would probably run the risk every single time, even if it meant sometimes I got a 5, because I think that the risky chest here and the safe chest were actually set up really well. Whereas the interceptor hostile and the battleship hostile probably were set up a little bit too strong. I really like how the opportunity chests were set up, and it's really going to increase how quickly you get export credits. Now, your base turn-ins here, your scrap trade and your aquatic exchange, scrap trade, you know, we're trying to get parts for the ship. Well, this is where we're going to do it. And the aquatic exchange also has a lot of really good value into the game, where you're going to use this to do, well, a lot of everything. But the main things you're going to get here, common export credits. We talk about how can this expedite what we get in the game. Here's your common export credits in the aquatic exchange. Here's your NX01 parts in the aquatic exchange. This is super valuable. It's going to allow you to upgrade your ship as well as replace some of the common credits you would use, but the cost is inherently high. You're expected to use the 1 chest a day is the expectation. A little bit tough right now. Double chest is a reach. You're going to have really good rolls on those battleship hits. As far as the scrap trade at tier 1, you are going to be mindful that you're getting more uncommon, rare, and export credits. So you have another way to get more credits here, and that is great. And it's a very cheap pull. We talk about how hard it can be to get the Xindi scraps. Well, this pull costs 200 at tier 1. Even at tier 8, it costs 8.5 thousand. So it's actually a very cheap translation to get your regular Xindi currency here, which is the Xindi scraps, turning those into uncommon, rare, and epic export credits. And that's also how you get your token every day to the Delphi Expanse. Last thing I want to cover in depth is the refit. It's the skin. It's the refit. It's cool for the NX01. Now, it mainly benefits higher level players, specifically the 60 plus crowd, because it's going to wrong enterprise. There's too many enterprises in the game. Because it's going to your partial titanium, dilithium, sigma improvements. So you like that reward claim. Also gives you another Delphic Expanse token, meaning you would get 2 a day versus 1. It also gives an impulse speed boost and that reward claim in the refinery. And this is something you can start working on immediately. As you can see, I have 3 out of 120. Start working on that in the refinery that we just exited from. So my overall thoughts about the NX01 is it's a solid ship, and your basic strategy is going to be running a Pipe Marode Shin standard hostile crew. Remember, these aquatic hostiles work the same way the Xindi does. You do not want to run a critical build unless you have bought the prime critical favor or you have finished doing your critical floor research in the Exborg favor and the Exborg faction store. That said, your standard crew is going to apply. As you saw by the firing pattern, the interceptors have a lot of energy weapons, ironically, and the battleship has a lot of kinetic weapons. So how you crew is up to you. I will say personally, I run it the same way I run my Pylum against regular Xindi, which is a loot-based crew. That loot crew is what you saw on my Coronar, Enterprise E Picard, Enterprise E Data, 5 of 11. If you don't have Enterprise E Picard, you still have 5 of 11 as a loot booster, and then you could still work around this with other officers. End of the day, you have to find what works specifically for you. It's a good and a bad thing that today's loops that are coming out in Star Trek Fleet Command are not cookie cutter. So there's not a specific crew that fits everybody. There are some things that don't really work. Live, log, and plunder. Stay safe with the Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Let me know what you think about the NX01 in the comment section down below. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you indifferent? Do you care? I want to know, so let me know. Appreciate y'all. Sorry for the length of this video, but this has a lot of content and a lot in the loop, so hopefully this helped you out. And as always, any questions, feel free to hit me up directly. See you on the next one. We'll say real quick, throw this in into the video. We are raising money for my wife who has to have surgery. So if you'd like to contribute to that, we don't really plug this on the YouTube channel ever. You can go through the hundreds of videos. I've done this like maybe 3 times. PayPal, Venmo, Cash App down below. Wife has to have surgery. We're trying to raise a few $1,000s to make that happen. If you'd like to contribute, obviously not required, but greatly appreciated. All those links are down below, or you can just go to the website, revdeuce.com. Thank you. If you've made it to this point in the video, that's pretty awesome of you. See you on the next one.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.